Oh, help me, oh God!
Oh, Thomas, my sweet, sweet friend. Close your eyes, Thomas, and let the good Lord take you now.
Motherfucker, I ain't dead yet. I said go get a doctor.
Oh, such language coming from you. No, all right. Doctor, we got a wounded man over here. Oh, well, I'm a doctor. What seems to be the problem, sir?
I've been fucking shot in the leg. Wait, how old are you?
Oh, the language on you, sir. This is a hospital. I would have advised you to. But I assure you that I am the ripe old age of 16.
We ain't in a fucking hospital. We're in the fucking battlefield. You just put a tent around my body. Jesus Christ.
It's good in a hospital, as good as the best. You know what I'm saying, son? Now, what seems to be the ailment here which perplexing you this day?
I fucking told you. I got shot in the leg.
Oh, yes, shot in the arm. Let's take a look at that. Let's get that. Oh, we're going to have to amputate that arm. And, sir, now don't you worry none. I want to assure you that I was in medical school for 2 whole days. That's a 48 hours to you layperson.
Jesus Christ.
Don't be taking the Lord's name in vain, and I'm Jewish, so I prefer it if you didn't even say that at all. It's bad memories, but all right, let's get that arm off. I
got shot in the leg. Get this fucking bull out of me.
Oh, my sincerest apologies. These glasses ain't really working the way they're supposed to. All right, now let's get that leg going.
Now, wait. Aren't you gonna wash your hands or something? What about the pain?
Oh, well, okay, here. Take a little bit of this here whiskey for you, son. And take that shot down. All right, now we got a little bit of chloroform for you here. Go ahead, breathe deep.
Okay.
All right. And you said wash your hands?
Oh, God.
All right, now let's get... Oh, I seem to have dropped my bone saw, sir. All right, now let's get to work. Oh, Lord.
What?
Oh, you said it was your left leg that you were shot in?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Oh, I seem to have mixed it up. I got a L, and that's the left. That's all right. Well, now we're gonna call you Stumpy.
Oh, the wrong leg.
Sir Thomas of Cornhole died later that week. He died from an infection in the arm.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Welcome. We are going back in time. Welcome. I'm one of your hosts, Thomas of Cornhole, and I'm ready for war, even though at the time I was technically British because Canada was not a country yet.
And I am the good Reverend Dr. Kaiju here to assist Sir Thomas in his afterlife affairs. As I am.
Also have whiskey?
Quite drunk. Yeah, whiskey, sir. Cheers.
Fucking sweet. I got a fucking whiskey cup. You got it in a fucking
drinking it out of a martini glass because I'm a doctor and I'm fancy.
Dude, I was gonna say, were gay people around back then? But Lincoln was gay.
Lincoln was so gay.
Yeah, and
I got a log cabin for you, Abe.
Yes, we're gonna get into the battlefield, the war, the Civil War,
the war against Northern aggression. Thomas, say it right.
Yes, and for the audio listeners, I got whiskey. Anton's got whiskey. I'm dressed up in the best outfit I could find for what someone might wear in 18 fucking whatever this is.
Tom looks like he's dressed to be a bad Brad Pitt cosplayer from Legends of the Fall.
Chelsea said I look like Tom fucking Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer, and I was like,
no, y'all far too put together to look like Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer. I don't know why I keep going with the fucking Southern accent.
It's right okay. It's just like the fucking the Bell Gunnis episode when you wouldn't stop doing the Norwegian accent.
I can't not do the Norwegian though, because it's you know I just but the Bell Gunnis you got to do it a little more like this.
Yes, so for the YouTube listeners, I'm dressed up. We got a fun little Civil War background. And we did a little skit, ring, 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 banana phone. But yes, and we'll be playing at least one clip for a haunting, and we'll be showing some photos for the YouTube listeners of photos taken from the Civil War to get us into the mood. of it. But to really get us in the mood, Anton, do you have some letters, some stories?
I do. My dearest Thomas, we have just returned from a trip to East 10, where we got big amounts of everything to eat, and everything we eat is so good to me, as I had been starved out so long on bread and beef. I was craving that sweet, sweet dick. That sweet, sweet dick.
Jesus.
All that we
Hey,
got.
hey,
Wow.
wait. There was supposed to be background music, but none of them fucking loaded.
Way to fuck it up.
I know. Wait, see if I can reload them. Why wouldn't that is so strange. So strange. Let me give me 5 seconds. Give me a second there, buddy.
Waiting. You keep me fucking waiting.
What? Oh, you son of a bitch. All right, I'll fucking add him in post. God damn it. I'm disappointed.
My dear Thomas, I now take my pen in hand to let you know that I am well, and I hope these few lines will find you the same. I am well at present. I got over the neuralgia in the head. Doctor said that I was only a little crazy, and it's fine. We had a great parade on last Thursday, the 19th. The governor of Rhode Island was here and presented the regiment with a nice silk flag he called the regimental flag. I was given the special commendations, being of Southern descent but fighting for the North. Massachusetts and Connecticut with a large number of the members of the assembly, as was also one of the old 76 soldiers who said that we were all good soldiers. Very good indeed. So for coming from a revolutionary man, that made my dick quite erect. And we also fired 8 of our largest cannon from our newly mounted fort. I tell you, I ain't never had a freedom boner like that before. The work of our own hands, we had a very fine band of brass music from Massachusetts. There are now 8 full companies on the ground, commencing at A and going down to H. There is now in Providence another company by the name of I, full and about 80 in company. K, the company I belong to, is E. We are about building barracks for 1,200 men. There's a young man coming home with me when I come, and oh boy, do I come. I don't know when that will be, by the name of Mr. Johnson. Tell Michael to set his cap for him when I come home, as he is the handsomest man on the ground, and we gonna make an Eiffel Tower right over his head.
Is this a real story? He's calling this guy handsome and shit. This guy's gay as Lincoln was.
I have gotten office, but I don't like it. Though it is something similar to that like I had in church assistant secretary. We have meetings every night in the week.
Who goes to church, man? I guess back then everyone did. Did you know that Lincoln said he was going to send all the black people back to Africa?
That's what the nation of Liberia was created for.
I was like, what? Like,
I didn't know that.
No, I knew he said some shady shit, but for all listeners, I spent all day listening to things all about the Civil War. And for the Patreon, $3 a month, we will be getting into, most likely for the Patreon, I'm going to decide if I want to put on the main show or not, but I would like to actually, we're talking about haunteds and strange mysteries of the Civil War. But I would like to do a whole episode talking about the ins and outs of the Civil War and how crazy and brutal the battles were. And you might have to pay for that. So
pony up your $3.
Yes. The American Civil War lasted from 1861 to 1865. It was one of the most important events in the history of the United States. It was 4 years of bloody combat and chaos, killing 750,000 soldiers, abolished slavery, and shaped the fate of the entire nation. And obviously, with death and chaos comes tales of ghosts and mysteries. There's a lot of them. Probably one of the most haunted battlefields, or the battlefields of all of them out there. World War II, we talked about way back in the day. Actually, me and Billy did that at the close to the beginning of this podcast. And I've had this written out for a while. I've really wanted to get into the Civil War and the ghostly tales that happened afterwards. But It was a brutal fucking war, man. Like, they're stabbing each other with fucking bayonets. Only a handful of people actually had pistols. And
Yeah,
you know,
officers generally were the only ones that carried pistols.
and obviously when you got when you know think about the Civil War, you think about like a musket and shit, and you have to like fucking jerk it off really fucking fast before someone rushes at you with a bayonet.
Yeah, I know that more often than not, I believe it was 90% of Civil War deaths were not from bullets. They were
It's from
from
sickness
infections and disease and
yeah.
starvation, etc.
Yeah, because think about it, like they like in our skit, right? They didn't wash their hands. They knew nothing about sterilization of
So it was 2 years before the war ended, I believe, is when they discovered, oh, we should be washing our hands.
well, no fucking shit. It's
But
sterilizing
it
your
happened
equipment.
in the Civil War, but it was like the war is essentially credited with the invention of doctors being like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. And if people don't realize, half of the people fighting in the Civil War were like from fucking 15 to like 20 and shit.
Yeah, they were mostly 16-year-olds.
Look at that guy.
You're right there in the middle.
Does kind of look like me. Yeah, those guys look like they're experienced. They look like they're haunted. That guy with the mustache in the back with the little weird hat. Holy fuck.
Yeah, he has 1,000. They all have severe stares that they're just like, I have seen some shit. But
What's
I mean,
what's that called? The 1,000-yard stare. What is that called? When it's like,
yeah, that's the 1,000-yard stare. That's generally like people that have seen or committed horrific acts have the.
I've also microdosed some mushrooms on this episode, so we'll see how that.
What else is new? You've done it for the last 4 episodes.
I know. It's like, why not, man? Yeah, it's a brutal time. Holy fuck, man. Lincoln was a tall, fucking skinny guy, man.
Lincoln's got that fucking evil doctor in House on Haunted Hill Ghostface thing going on for our listeners that can't see this.
Yeah, for people on YouTube, just look up Civil War photos. You'll see this infamous photo of Abraham Lincoln, and obviously he was on a battlefield, a little tent behind him, and he was a tall, lengthy man, but he also was standing like weirdly straight. Like it's strange.
No comment on the Freemasonic pose that those two are standing in, Tom.
Oh yeah, I just realized that is definitely a Masonic pose. They have their hands tucked in, one hand tucked into the side of their coat. That is 100%.
That was also just a way to fucking stand for a hot minute.
No, I think that was
It was a Masonic thing, but when you do it in public and other people don't know what it is, they're going to imitate it because they think it looks cool. Because that's how people
tipping
are.
the hat towards all the other Freemasons, which, you know, if you do enough history about Freemasonry, we don't know entirely it was as bad as it is today back then, because it might have just been a little group where, you know, men were trying to fight for civil liberties like George Washington, all that shit. But
well, see, I say it's gotten tamer as it's gotten older. It has not gotten worse.
Now the Freemasons touch little boys and fucking use sex trafficking and fucking satanic fucking.
Pretty sure that's not the Freemasons, but Tom's opinion corner.
Yes, I believe that may be part of it, young sir. But who knows? Who knows? I do believe that a lot of Freemasons are orchestrating the shit that's going on Earth. But
my con man, I am a doctor, not a young sir. It's because I am 4 years your junior, sir. Does not make me a boy. I sawed both of your goddamn legs off just fine.
Yeah, I'm Stumpy McStumperson. And the thing is, like, you know, back then, a lot of these men, and you could call them teenagers, literally, didn't have any prior knowledge or understanding of battle, and they kind of just went in, they gave him a gun or a sword and was like, go stab some people if you got to, bash them over the fucking head with the rock, do what you got to do to kill that guy that looks exactly like you and sounds just like you.
And oftentimes they were actual family. It's just a matter of cousin versus cousin and brother versus brother. It depended on which side of, you know, who you wanted to fight for. There's also
a couple. Keep slaves. I like my fucking slave Junior over there. He takes care of me.
That is a fucking, and I'm gonna get shit for this, but yes, it is about slavery, and yes, it is important. But like with any wars, like there were certain things put in place where it was, I believe it was midway through the war, so about 2 years in. The Confederacy passed an amendment that said anyone who owned more than 20 slaves did not have to fight. So once again, it was generally fought by people who didn't own slaves for the benefit of people who did. So once again, it's the poor doing the rich's dirty work.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Would I rather go to war or have 20 slaves, and then when the wars end, I'll just be like, you can go free now? I don't know what the latter is, but do
Choose
I
your words
fight?
very carefully,
Do
Tom.
I fight and get gangrene, or do I keep my slaves for fucking 4 years and then just like cut the chains loose and be like, go free now, go free? Hey, at least it's not. I'm not saying what Huckleberry Finn called his homie, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm leaving this show. So it's been
to
fun.
speak upon that, yes, there was many. Also, obviously, Black people, Indigenous people that did fight in the Civil War.
Indigenous people were more or less forced. Black people were offered their slavery if they fought on the side of the Confederacy.
What? So if they fought for the Confederates, were they like, you can go free after?
Yes.
Huh. And then if obviously you're on the North, the fucking Union, they're like, we want you to be free.
Well, more often than not, you had a lot of Union soldiers that were people of color who joined up with the ranks because they were involved in the Underground Railroad during the antebellum South, the years leading up to the Civil War.
Do we know why? Do we know what Abraham Lincoln sounded like? I made a joke with me and Juan. We talked about the hauntings of the White House, and I was like, he probably talks like this.
Okay. So if he talked like that, I doubt very much that he would have ever made his way to political
office.
Oh
yeah, because
you got to remember, like he had to do what were called railway tours or railway stops, where he would ride a train, especially through Illinois, which is his home state, and he would make stops at major ports and give speeches. So you would assume that he would have a very pronounced, very commanding, a very booming, and inspirational voice.
We're gonna let all the slaves free. All the Black people will be free and equal in the eyes of God. And then we'll get a huge boat and we'll send them back to Africa, even though they don't know where the fuck their family is or if they're dead or alive. And it's like, it's just crazy that some of the shit that he said, it was like, man, I don't know if you're the good guy, but you obviously helped fucking abolish slavery, which was the main point. And then obviously, like, women didn't have rights. And I mentioned
suffrage. Women's suffrage came much later.
And me and Anton were talking about this through chat. Is that a lot of people were raped? There was a lot of rape going on, according to what I was listening to and reading about. It was like 500 accounts of all these women and children coming out from 5 years old to fucking 85 being raped during the entire war.
It's the chaos of war. I mean, that's not excusing it. It's fucking an absolute atrocity, and it's oftentimes worse than the actual battles itself.
Give me your granny. I love her sloppy little titties, big fucking windbags. And fucking...
This is coming from somebody who's never seen combat, so I can't say that it's worse. But I just, as somebody who's seen neither of those things, I would assume that is slightly more horrific. Because at least maybe in your brain you can justify what's happening in war.
Vinny Pass said, I don't trust anyone that's never been to war, and I don't trust anyone that hasn't been poor. And I was like, yeah, good point.
Tom, have you been to war?
I've been in a war against myself since I was the age of 10, where I would battle myself in my consciousness.
If we're counting that, then I'm still in that war. So.
Also, obviously, fucking Lincoln was a wrestling fuck. He fucking, before we get into the hauntings, I just want to mention that he did wrestle, and he was like 301 or some shit. And if somebody tried to like go against him, he would fucking try to battle them. He's like, sir, you want to fucking fight? It's just like, he's like, he'd manhandle them because for the time he was a large man.
Yeah, he was a big dude.
He was, for the time. They're all my height, like 5'6", 5'7" kind of shit. So that's how they went. It was a fucking crazy time. What if, and they have cannons, like, and you're like, and this is like line infantry. See, is that the South? Why they got the slaves hanging out
there? I can't tell, because you can't really tell if they're so blue and gray are the colors of the uniforms. The South was gray, the North was blue. So
those gentlemen in the back don't look very happy. They all don't look happy. The one guy with the fucking pussy beard, the goatee, he looks kind of happy though.
The one all the way on the right that's leaning forward and kind of looks like Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead for some stupid fucking reason.
No, the guy.
Are you talking about the guy that has the Dante from Clerks facial hair?
Yeah, the goatee.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks happy. Everyone else doesn't. I get the guy without a beard doesn't. Yeah,
Remember, it took like 20 minutes to sit for a photo back then, right?
Yeah, I know. This guy's like, it's fucking Christ. Yeah, for everyone listening on the audio, make sure you look up.
Thomas, what did you do? Here I am, just talking to myself. That's chaos.
Oh, thank God.
There he is.
I clicked some fucking button and it didn't. So all the fans out there, yeah, make sure you check out, like, just look it up, get you in the mood for this episode. I suggest when we're about to get into this, pour yourself some fucking whiskey and, join us on this journey into the Civil War. Some of them look fairly happy to be taking these photos going to war.
The one with the smirk standing up top, and then the one to his left. Yeah.
Some of them seem like, you know what, I'm fucking ready for this shit. And
yeah, they're probably the ones that just showed up and they're like, oh, we're gonna take a battalion photo.
This fucking guy. He looks scary.
I love that dude's hair. I absolutely love that man's hair.
Look at his dope outfit. He looks like he's jerking off in his pants. All right. And obviously it's crazy. And we mentioned it before, right? How they were doing like embalming on the battlefield sometimes to try to preserve the bodies and then ship them home to their fucking crying wives and families.
Yep. Because they were so far from home. And there were literally just body piles. Like there are shallow graves everywhere. Apparently there was certain farmers who viewed that as a good thing because it was free fertilizer.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because obviously a lot of times they were just burying them on spot in very shallow graves. There's that famous from one of the generals came in and he was like, it just looked like fucking just bodies were everywhere. And because it rained, you just saw arms, like it looked like hell. Like there's arms just fucking popping out of fucking everywhere, like bodies, legs, like pretty. And there, look, in this photo we're showing of them at the hospital, I can see myself without my fucking legs.
Yep. Did you know that they used legs for firewood?
Are you fucking serious?
Mm-hmm.
Definition of a bonfire, where bonfire came from.
No, so that's where the term throw another leg on the fire comes from.
What?
Yeah. They would have 3-leg fires where they would just make a teepee out of legs and fucking
like burn. All right, Anton.
They found out that legs would burn for exactly 5 hours.
What? That's fucking nuts. And would it actually create fire? Like it would actually
it would burn. Yeah. No, it burns.
Wow. That's fucking crazy, It's like, all right, Anton, I fucking cried about you for 10 minutes, so I'm gonna throw you on the fire now.
Not full bodies, legs.
Oh, so I'd have to cut your leg off first.
Well, if my leg was amputated, so they would just throw them into piles after they would amputate people. So
then
the bodies would just be buried in shallow graves, mostly because of the whole Christian thing, which cremation wasn't really a nice.
And obviously, look, there's a foot there.
Dude, look at the rotting corpses and just shredded clothes that are on that thing.
And who do you think the Confederates would make clean up the mess?
No, of course.
All right. It's just bodies everywhere. It was fucking a horrible war. For the audio listeners, we are showing some images. You can look them up.
Look at all those holes in the side of that fucking shed, too.
Look at this. They're just putting skulls on swords.
Like you do.
The swords are pretty dope, I have to say. I do really dig some of the fucking swords that some of the homies have. Where's that one? Where's that one photo I like of the men's? This one. Look at their dope ass swords, man. They got like a cutlass.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I was gonna do this at the tippity, but let's watch a little short video of a supposedly ghostly haunting at Gettysburg. Fucking
That's
scary.
Weird.
It is weird. And obviously, as we talked about before, when we talk about hauntings, right, it could be residual energy because of the imprint that this is made into just the time and the era that residual hauntings, right, are just like imprints in history and time.
Yes.
Where it just replays the same shit over and over. And that's why a lot of people hear guns going off and people yelling and screaming and stuff like that. It's pretty crazy. So most people who are familiar,
hauntings are generally the definition of residual hauntings. Yes.
Yes. Most people who are familiar with the Civil War history know of Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson, the famous Confederate lieutenant general who died a very particular death. His own men accidentally shot him in the Battle of Chancellorsville. Chancellorsville? I don't know.
Chancellorsville, yeah.
On May 2nd,
Accidentally in air quotes.
1863. Did they think that they mutinied him?
They would never say that.
Yeah.
That's a Southern general. So, I mean, maybe.
Maybe because to mention this too, right? So there were when they were capturing Confederate soldiers, they were convincing them to fight for the Union too at the same time.
Well, they would do their best, yeah, but more often than not, you still had.
But think about it, it's the guys that are not fucking fighting. Like they're not fighting if they don't own slaves, or maybe they have one or two.
No, but honor was still a very big thing around then. And then if they were to try and go home after the war, or what if the South won, then they would be deserters and they would be killed.
Oh, that's true. But they're like fucking 16, 17, 18.
Doesn't mean shit, dude. You're talking about a whole different type of person. They are not.
You come home and your mom beat you with a shoe for about a week.
Not even that, dude. Your dad might fucking kill you.
Although historians generally state that Jackson was shot because of the darkness and confusion on the battlefield. And like we said, they were not used to this, okay? This was more or less the first battle where they had Gatling guns, they had rifles, they had cannons. So it was just smoke-filled battlefields, and it was constant confusion of like just like and you don't like other than the uniforms, you don't know who the fuck you're shooting at.
Mm-hmm.
So although historians, generally say because of the confusion on the battlefield, that's probably why he was shot. The waters of history have been fairly muddy on this particular subject. Jackson's fame led to many people from both sides of the conflict to claim, their involvement in his death, and conspiracy theories of murder and foul play have surfaced every once in a while. The question was finally answered in 2013. Near the 150th anniversary of the great general's death, which may or may not be a happy coincidence, two astronomers, I don't know why, but painstakingly calculated the phases of the moon during the fateful night when Jackson was returning to his troops. The moon was so dim, you would only really see a silhouette. So when the fatigued, frightened soldiers were startled by this mysterious soldier-shaped shadow, they instinctively opened fired, only to run over and find the horror that they killed their own commander. Shit! Thomas.
Oh, fuck. They're going to hang us. They're going to fucking hang us, man. Game over, man. Game over.
Game over, man. When you're fighting a war, you get used to many inconveniences, obviously bad food, constant manual labor because you're like having to dig ditches for the bodies of your friends.
I feel like that's the easy part, like getting used to them, because like it's like working a physical job. Once you're in the swing of it, you're in the swing of it. The physical part doesn't, it sucks, but it doesn't really like
you're in just the mind state of like just like the 1,000-yard stare, like I'm fucking.
Oh, plus you're fucking hammered drunk most of the time, I would assume.
I would be getting drunk the entire time. I'd be fucking taking all the opium.
Taking opium. Yep, exactly.
Fucking what's that? What am I thinking? Morphine too.
No, you'd be taking opium. You wouldn't be taking morphine.
Actually, I haven't to kill other human beings, obviously, and all other drawbacks that would come from war, of a wartime life as a soldier. However, the Civil War had extra horror to throw in the mix. The army itch was a dermatologist. Fuck, why can't I say this word now? Dermatologist. Dermatological terror that spread through. Do I got the cringe? Yeah, I do. Right. This
cringy ass bitch.
All right, but it was a mysterious condition that caused men's skin to itch and swell and blister. So I'd rather get shot in the face to the point where they become a mess of sores, painful, pussing, oozing lacerations.
Yummy. Yeah, they actually apparently the doctors also thought that pus was the sign of a healing wound. So they would take the pus and they would spread it on other patients' wounds just to hope that it would help them heal quicker. Yeah, apparently so.
That's fucking gross, man.
Yeah, some historical accounts were saying the doctors were not so fucking bright.
That's disgusting.
It is disgusting. You're right.
So when so obviously it would cause we were like fucking crazy. Some men's hands swelled so badly their fingers couldn't touch each other. Their fingers couldn't touch each other.
Oh my
But
God.
it's fucked up. The true cause of the itch remained a mystery until 2006, when researchers were able to determine its true cause as a pandemic of scabies,
Makes sense.
a particularly hostile mite infection that swept through the armies in less than hygienic conditions in the barracks and battlefields. And fuck the George Godstones, but who knows who really done it? Maybe it's a satanic ritual. We're recording the day after or 2 days after, but this will come out fucking weeks after we actually broadcast this to all your ears and eyes, except for if you're on Twitch. If you're on Twitch, sometimes you get like 4 weeks in advance. So it's pretty crazy. Ghost pictures. All right. Ghostly pictures. When Private Tom, I actually tried to look for this picture. I couldn't find it. I literally looked up ghost Civil War pictures. I couldn't find shit.
Spectral photographs.
Other than ones that were obviously doctored, but it could have been anyway. With a lot of Thomases, I must tell you,
a common name, Thomas. 'Twas a common name.
When Private Thomas W. Timberlake, he was the great grandfather of Justin Timberlake, and he used to dance through the battlefield. And the 2nd Virginia Infantry was walking through the corpse-littered battlefield of Port Royal. He happened to find a photo of a young girl. The problem was that the said photo happened to lie exactly between 2 dead soldiers, one of them Confederate and the other one of the Union. Timberlake took the photo with him and eventually found its way to a museum in the Confederacy in Richmond, Virginia. The museum has fairly good collection of similar mysteries and photos that the soldiers, both sides of the war, have been given for safekeeping and never reclaimed, most likely because they died in battle. They depicted people that long dead, although the museum occasionally managed to track down some of the people in the pictures, some of them like the unidentified young girl found between the 2 dead soldiers was never identified. These pictures remain a sad old mystery of time gone by, never reclaimed or recognized by anyone. Bow, bow, bow.
A Jane Doe for the ages.
Yes. Washington's ghost. Was Washington part of this fucking war?
No. Washington was long dead.
The Civil War was going poorly for the North during the first few years. General George B. It's another George. George B. McClellan's one of the Union's main generals, was struggling to mount successful operations against the Confederate forces. There was many. We'll get into it when we talk about it, most likely on a Patreon episode. But the battles were pretty crazy, and they were losing a lot of times in the North.
Because the North was primarily industry, whereas the South was mainly textiles, resources. Like the South had most of the shit, which a lot of people argue. That's the historical retcon shit where people try and argue that the war wasn't actually about slaves; it was about resources, which there is.
Could be.
There is that aspect of it as well, but I don't know. I think that the majority
so
of the war
obviously they were
was
struggling, and that's when McClellan reported a strange incident in which he saw the vision of George Washington in early because George Washington is in 1776. The signing of the Declaration of Independence. So in the early 1862, late one night, George B. McClellan was studying maps and planning attacks when he gradually realized that the enemy knew his position too well and couldn't fight off any offenses. As he sunk into despair, he heard a booming voice through his captain. The voice, he thought, the voice told him that only God was helping the Union to repel the Confederate attacks and that the South would have won otherwise if not for God. Looking upon his map, McClellan found himself staring at the whimsy ghost of George Washington. Washington reassured McClellan that the cause was not yet lost and that the U.S. would prevail for many centuries. And after the speech, Washington raised his hand above McClennan's head and blessed him. And the thunder roared through the cabinet. When McClennan awoke, he was lying on the table, drunk. Probably, by my guess, he was drunk. At first, he thought he had been in a dream, but when he looked at his map, he could see markings that showed him where to attack Confederate positions. Isn't that fucking crazy if that story is true?
I think maybe someone just came in and told him that like he was just talking to somebody, but he was so fucking shithouse and had been on a bender for so long that he's like, "Thank you, Mr. President." So like,
Yeah.
okay, Chief, we're gonna get back to it. There's the intel you asked for. Our scouts came and they marked
Thanks,
it.
man.
And
He did
cool,
not
like,
remember making those markings himself. Obviously, the
we will
story
carry on your legacy, Mr. Washington.
helped solidify the idea that the North received divine help during the war, but the tale was only made public after the war ended. And we don't really know if it was a paranormal event or not, if it was just made up stories. But you know what? I try to believe that weird things do happen. And I'm sure during this time, especially after the books I've been fucking listening to, that there is some weird intervention when it comes to spiritual conquest over certain domains of our reality. I do believe it's possible.
Sure, or it's in this instance at least.
Are you smoking up?
No, I'm just grinding up a little weed. I haven't decided to smoke yet. I'll probably smoke when we get a little closer to the end.
Yeah, we're not halfway yet. We're getting there.
We're close. But god damn it, he fucking made me lose my train of thought.
The whole idea of like ghosts, yeah, there could be.
Oh, okay, so yeah. So I think maybe there's also a psychological aspect to it where that could be something you say to up morality of a very wounded nation that you're trying to
the next
reunify.
day, he's like, George Washington came to me in a dream.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Or
if you have a group of superstitious people, which most of your poor soldiers are going to be superstitious religious people, they're, going to
look at Lincoln's life, right? Like, I would like to dive back more into Lincoln's life, but the thing is, me and Juan even talked about it for the haunted throwback to the haunted the White House, where we got that goddamn cat again. That's all from
goddamn cat again.
That's from that episode.
Yeah.
Lincoln's wife, Mary Todd, was like super superstitious and like
she was a spiritualist.
She did seances and meanwhile, they never had sex, so her fucking cobweb pussy was dry.
Well, they had sex enough times for her to give birth to her stillborn children, which
like
there is something to say about them.
He's
maybe
probably got
like
a dong on him, though.
Like maybe that Lincoln's got a hog. Throw back to one of our older episodes.
So true.
But I'm not even going to explain it. Let's just go with the Lincoln is gay. Let's just go with that.
The story of Old Green Eyes, a cryptid. Woohoo, a cryptid.
Oh, yeah.
Or a ghost from the battlefield of Chickamauga.
Old Green Eyes going to miss you.
Chickamauga in Tennessee. It's actually two unrelated legends that bear the same name. The first story is about a Civil War soldier whose head has been blown off during battle. His friends buried his body without the head. According to legend, the ghost of the soldier still roams the battlefield, moaning and looking for his head. Where's my head? How could you hear it moaning for its head if it had no head?
If it has no head. Because ghost powers, dumbass. Come on, man.
What the fuck? People have wrecked their cars after being shocked by the glowing green eyes on the roads near the battlefield. The second and older story involves a mysterious cryptid called Old Green Eyes that allegedly the first sighting was during the Civil War. Legend states that the soldiers saw a monster during the Battle of Chickamauga. Is that how you say it? You fucking went to school for this. They taught you this in school.
No, they didn't.
Chickamauga?
Chickamauga?
Chickamauga.
That's got to be an indigenous word. There's no way it's not.
It's just like the indigenous people that were dragged into this war. It was just like, they're probably like, man, fucking God, we just fucking battled you goddamn cowboys for fucking how long? And now we're like forced into your fucking stupid bullshit. I could imagine it was probably horrible for them to be like, man. And
no, a lot of those children are probably a lot of those natives are probably ones who grew up went through the fucking programs of residential schools.
Yeah.
Like they were assimilated, air quotes, brainwashed, if you will, into white culture. And they were, I'm sure it's still second class fucking people who,
Well, I was listening to the secret teachings of American history, and it talks about a lot about how I think that's what it's called, the secret history of America, and it talks a lot about
the Manly P. Hall one.
Yes,
yeah.
I got into
It's a good book.
I got into Man Appeal, and they talk about the indigenous people, obviously their connections and how they were fighting a lot, which I've said in older episodes. Before we came over, they were warring with themselves, but they did create like the Six Nations, and they started to come together, and they were a nomadic people and often very spiritual and started to connect to each other. And I'm sure, and now the book that I'm reading, The Law of One, they were highly regarded by the entities that are supposed to be in and out of our plane of existence.
Yeah, because they lived in harmony with nature.
Yes.
It's like, yes, they battled, but they didn't battle in the way that, everybody else did, where it was just you went through and just desolated everything. It was, okay, we're fighting you over resources or over our land or over hunting grounds or over pride or some fucking other bullshit reason why mankind fights itself. Yeah. But the point is that they were genocided. That's the point. It's not as though it was like, oh, you lost the war fair and square. It was like, no, you were systematically exterminated.
Yeah.
And had your entire culture systematically exterminated.
For for obviously the people on the other side, the British, the Spaniards, everything else, that believed that this was their right and that they needed to do this, even though if they would have just kind of lived in the same mindset of the indigenous people, our whole country and world would probably be different.
It would be very interesting. I would love to just, if you could, do the sneak peek into alternate timelines. I would love to see where Westerners took a lot longer to get here and see what the world would look like.
According to popular folklore, it was a short creature that had glowing eyes and a protruding jaw with huge fangs. Old Green Eyes had long hair like a woman, but the hair was thin and straw-colored. Soldiers say they spotted the creature walking among the dead bodies after the battle. Sightings of the creature continued in the 20th century, and the Chickamauga Park Ranger Edward Tinney stated that he glimpsed upon the creature. According to Edward, Old Green Eyes still stalks the abandoned battlefields, always watching for those who decide to visit. And the thing is, too, pretty cool cryptids, man. But when we talked about, the Nazi occultism and like World War II, the strange mysteries of World War II, which I don't know. I have to look back to see if I decide to X that episode. I don't think I did, because a lot of the episodes I decided to cut out and specifically put on Patreon behind a paywall so you can see the beginnings of Strange Brew podcast with me and Billy and Justin and stuff like that. Is that when me and Billy talked about, there was like a monster supposedly that people saw during World War II, like a werewolf type creature that and nobody understood what the fuck was going on.
Again, that could be any number of things. That could just be simple combat fatigue and shared hallucinations, mass psychosis. It could be the sheer size of the karmic bomb that occurs when that many people are murdering that many other people, opens a gateway that allows something else in. There's plenty of speculation that can be done about what that is. Was that weed?
Yeah, I decided to smoke weed. Fuck it. We're smoked out of a bong for our fucking thing. We got to get high sometimes. The pen is a good balancer.
Like, it's not a balancer. All right, fine. If Tom's gonna go off the rails on this episode,
you're gonna fucking hit a bong. It's hilarious because I was listening to, because I'm like curious. I'm listening back to old episodes. I'm kind of fucking narcissistic, I guess you could say, but just to see what we sound like back in the day, how much things have changed on this podcast. They really have, and you can still go back and listen to the Strange Recordings episode that I was like, you know what? It's only an hour. I haven't heard this shit in a while. Deciding if I want to keep it or not, and fucking me and Justin were hitting bongs, and Billy's like, I ain't taking that shit, and we were just smoking bongs on the episode. It's like so ridiculous. And I kept that one in because it goes off the rails, but it is really funny. What type of, like, that's a fucking pretty big bong. I like that shit. Oh,
it's old school plastic.
Yeah. Is it? It doesn't look like
it's my travel bong.
Camera. Well, I'm dressed up, and Anton has got a camera like he's in the fucking 1890s. So.
I've got a sepia tone going here, and it's original photography, so I'll not have you with any of that fancy color technology. This barely steals my soul enough as it is, son. I don't want to be stealing my soul in color.
Fort Monroe. Fort Monroe is one of the few southern forts that remained uncaptured during the war until it fell to the Union after the war's end. The fort was said to be a mighty fortress with boasted sturdy walls and even a moat. Wow, they got a fucking moat going on this bitch. Jefferson Davis.
Moats were still like legitimate.
Relevant?
Yeah, they were relevant in the battles. Because you figure the most advanced shit you have besides the Gatling gun and cannonballs at that point is horses.
Yeah, it's true. And I think, 4,000 horses died, 4,000 or 5,000 horses died during the Civil War.
I know, those poor fucking horses. They didn't do nothing. They just wanted oats, man.
Jefferson Davis was captured and held prisoner at Fort Monroe, Monroe, it's literally spelled the same way as Maryland, and said to haunt the cell of where he was kept. Even creeper, his wife is said to haunt the premises, aimlessly wandering the grounds of the fort in search of her long-lost husband. Jefferson! Where are you, Jefferson? However, the most well-known on the premises, the ghost that is most well-known, is a woman who haunts the portion of the fort known as Ghost Alley. Though no one knows exactly who she is, she's still said to wander around the alley, surrounded by mysterious glowing fog. And to mention that, I fucking hate that I made fun of Zach Bagans so much, and I was defending him when I was drunk because you convinced me to get Discovery, and I've been watching so much.
Discovery Plus is so good.
Oh, and I watched the
Sponsor us, you coward. Sponsor us.
I know that'd be awesome because we watched I love Jack Osborne. I do a
Me
lot.
too. No, I watch all of his shit religiously. I love that. I love the Osbournes Wanna Believe.
Is his Aussie show with the show with his dad on?
It's on there. Yep.
Oh, what? We watched the first 2 seasons. I think that there was.
I think that's what's on there right now. Are the first 2 seasons. And they don't even know if it's going to get picked up
how he tries or not. How Ozzy tries to fucking bury the doll, the Robert the doll, which
no, you're talking the one that's just Jack and Ozzy.
Yeah.
No, I think that's Travel Channel. But it might be it might be on there because Paranormal Caught on Camera is on there. Yeah. And so if you want to never mind, we'll talk about that off air.
Yeah, but it's
shouting out a bigger.
I've been watching so much ghost stuff now. I love Jason Mewes. He's in the background.
The Bigfoot one, dude.
Yeah, I've met him, and they searched for Bigfoot. It could have been more, but you can tell that Jason Mewes loved every little bit of it.
Oh yeah, when he kept trying to get Jack Osborne's gun, he's like, "I'm gonna take that." He's like, "No, you're not."
But I have been in a very ghostly mood. Me and Chelsea have watched a lot of stuff about ghosts recently, and watched a lot of Ghost Adventures while we're drinking and hanging out and smoking up on the weekend. So it does bring me back to that time. And eventually we might get back into Haunted Dolls. That's actually will be coming on the Patreon for a Lost Tapes episode, because that was our 4th episode we ever recorded, and it's going to go up on the Patreon for Lost Tapes, $3 a month, fuckers.
Everybody's smoking on the weekend.
I think I'm going to find the episode where Billy smokes the bong hit, and he's like, Billy, it doesn't like weed. Weed makes Billy tired. However, the most well-known is this woman. She said to haunt the Ghost Alley, and though no one really knows exactly who she is, she said to wander the alley surrounded by mysterious glowing fog.
Mysterious glowing warming fog.
And in the book that I'm listening to, The Law of One, he does, or the entity Ra does mention ectoplasm. And how he mentioned,
and how ectoplasm has just been flagrantly disproven as a hoax.
Fake. It's probably
probably. It's definitely a fucking hoax, man.
I don't know.
At least the pictures that we got from the spiritualist movement have all been proven to be hoaxes.
We did a whole episode about it. Go back. That was last Halloween. But it's he mentions it, and maybe it is a real phenomenon. I don't know, but a lot of them were proven fake. But there could have been one that's real. There could have been.
Anything's possible, Mario. Improbable, unlikely, but never impossible.
Yeah. Devil's Den is a rock formation in the middle of Gettysburg battlefield. And obviously,
we're doing Devil's Den. Yeah.
Is the biggest, the most haunted place, let me say. And according to the Civil War ghost, it was here that the fighting reached its peak. And weird as it was, I was listening to Ed Larson talk about the Civil War. What? Why are you shaking?
What did we just say about not shouting out a fucking?
Yeah, that's true. That's something entirely different. I was watching a video of him talking about it, and fucking asshole. Now you gotta make me. Where am I? Fucking 48 minutes in. Twitch, get this. I'll cut it out. Know what I've never seen. 48 minutes. Remind me. 48 minutes. Know what I've never seen. I've never seen the Gettysburg movie. It's like
the one with wait. Which movie was the Gettysburg movie?
It's called Gettysburg, I guess. And I've never seen it, and I'm interested in it because Jeff Daniels is fucking in it.
Oh, that's that one. Okay. I couldn't remember what the Daniel Day-Lewis movie is just called Lincoln, and then there's Gettysburg, and then what's the one with Matthew Broderick and Denzel?
And then there's Glory, which I've never seen any of these films.
Glory. That's the Matthew Broderick Denzel one. We watched that in history through film class. And our teacher was so fucked up that when the one cannonball went flying through and took the dude's head off, he was like, all right, pause, frame by frame. There it is.
That's
He
sick.
did the same thing in the Untouchables when the little girl blows up next to the briefcase. He's like,
Wow. This guy's fucking a serial killer in
he was
hiding.
one of my favorite teachers ever. That dude was awesome.
And yeah, I might now and before we get in the Patreon episode that I want to do, I might visit these films, at least Glory and Gettysburg is supposed to be fucking 4 hours long, which
Yeah, it's
I don't know when I'm gonna watch that because Chelsea will not watch an old war movie with me. Not at all. I've probably seen Saving Private Ryan like 7 times. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and according to Civil War Ghost, obviously it's the fighting began. It was crazy chaos.
Crazy.
And it was here multiple visitors have reported being approached by a soldier dressed in uniform of a Confederate soldier from Texas, minus the shoes. Minus the shoes. Okay. He often suggests where they need to go next. He's just like pointing them, go this way. His image had been captured in ghost photographs far back as the 1970s. And when I was looking up ghost pictures from the battlefield, I probably should have looked more or less into people that have supposedly taken them. I was looking for legitimate photos from back in the day of what, it could have, if they caught anything.
Look at those trenches.
Look at these guys, man. There's me and fucking my missing foot. But it's and why I even mentioned Ghost Adventures because I know they went to Gettysburg and I like that episode. It was pretty trippy. They caught a couple good things, but who knows? And I'm always watching and be like, it could be real, but like maybe fake, like because we did shit on him on the the Moreau Demon House, which is
yeah, we did. We shit all over him on that one. Yeah, you're just making fun of Zach Baggins because you're dressed like the guy from Destination Unknown.
Yeah, I like that show also. He suggested, it's often suggested, he just tells them where to go next. And then all these pictures appear in the 1970s. Several people have said they've gotten lost, and he appears to point them the way to the road before simply vanishing.
So he's a kind haunting then. Yes. He's helpful.
Even though he's a Confederate. There are a few other ghost stories too. In 1939, a man reported asking some disheveled looking man dressed as a soldier if they needed help. They said yes, and he guided them, the unwary traveler, back to a tree where another man appeared to be dying of a massive chest wound. When the frightened man told the cashier at the nearby gas station what has happened, he told him he wasn't the first person to encounter the soldiers. You know how crazy that be? You're at this fort or in this battlefield, and you think that you think it's just and according even my mom is she doesn't believe in a lot of shit that I believe in, but she did, I've said it before, see the ghost of her friend Terry, who committed suicide in his garage, and she played one of the Ouija boards I have before I got it. With my grandmother and my Aunt Helen, which is now passed. And my Aunt Helen was dope. I got to tell you my Aunt Helen real quick. She got cancer. They had to amputate her leg, and she put a fucking plunger on the end and was a pirate for Halloween. I get some of my fucked up humor from, and I believe that she's probably one of my spiritual guides because she died when I was 8. And my grandmother has had a necklace. She's putting on a necklace, and she said, Aunt Helen, can you help me put it on? It snapped together instantly. Or Helen, she would have called her, obviously, not Aunt, but her sister. But very strange. I have a lot of family ghosts, I believe, that are watching over me. Quite
good
possible.
Shit.
So I was just saying, how crazy to be. You get a guy pointing you the way, right? And I always love ghost episodes. I've been into ghosts and paranormal shit longer than I've been into conspiracies, aliens, anything. I've told the stories, and we'll get into it near Halloween. But it's just like ghosts or something that really gets my goat, man. And
gets your ghost.
This guy pointing you, and then you see it just would be crazy to you go up and you see this guy be dying, and then they disappear.
Imagine being that poor gas station attendant that someone walks in and they're just like, you're never gonna believe this, but I gotta tell somebody because you're the only person within miles. But I followed this guy, and let me guess, there was a dude with a giant hole in his chest sitting under the tree.
No,
How
it's
the fuck did you know? Like, yeah, someone comes in here every week and tells you about
every
it.
week.
That's Phil and George. They just hang out here.
Yeah, it's like those horror movies, right? Where it's like they know that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like that Leatherface is down the road, like that and
The
they're like,
Harbinger from Cabin in the Woods. It's like there's only death down that road.
or like, remember the crazy old fucking homeless guy from Friday 13th?
Yeah.
It's like, I go this way. It's good. It's Camp Blood. Like,
Yeah.
which will eventually be coming for the Patreon too for our commentary episodes. So at least one woman has claimed to have been grabbed by a figure of a Civil War era uniform, and it touched her tit, and she didn't like it. She screamed
Touched a
rape.
titty and she said, "That's assault, brother."
And then R. Kelly ran over and helped her. And
Oh, fuck you, R. Kelly.
some see the Ghost Rider, a specter who vanishes in a thin air as quickly as he appears. Strange. New Orleans, Burgard Keys House is named. I'm not going to pronounce this. Right,
Cringy ass bitch.
Cringy ass bitch is named for its two most famous residents, Confederate General PGT Burgard. Fucking strange, man. And writer Francis Parkinson Keys. It sits out on the outskirts of the French Quarter, and even though the Burger Guard and his wife, I'm gonna call him PGT. Okay, PGT and his wife lived there for just 2 years, but apparently long enough to maybe show up after they've been dead. And the thing is, right? And I've talked about ghost stuff before. I've tried to go to fucking cemeteries and use Ouija boards and the spirit box, right?
Yep.
And you fucking, it's most times is in places that they were accustomed to. That's why you have the Enfield poltergeist that I eventually want to get into.
Well, if you think about it, the graveyard's
right.
going to be the least haunted place.
Yeah.
More often than not. I mean, cemeteries, yeah, because most of them are like, oh, I'm at rest. I'm in a cemetery.
Yes, or like, and if you died in a mysterious circumstance, or you don't know really where you are, or you die under like where you're in this duality between two worlds, you might go towards some place that you love and that you cared about. According to Ghost City Tours, there's definitely more than one presence that's decided to call the glorious New Orleans home, well home. The most commonly sighted are Civil War soldiers, easily identified by their uniform. They appear usually just standing there, staring at some beyond point with our earthly eyes can see, where earthly eyes can't see. So they got the 1,000-yard stare, and they're just like, all right, yeah. They line up. The lineup says that at least once one of the soldiers spoke. A man attending to a garden party, I guess, which is weird. What's a garden party?
It's just a party in the garden.
Reportedly had an entire conversation with a soldier in a Union uniform, only to learn later that there was no absolutely one there matching his description at the party. Like, I was talking to this guy, and he was telling me about his family. And I asked him about this show, King of Queens, and he's like, I do not understand what you are saying.
What is a show, sir?
Like a theater show where Lincoln was soon to be shot?
There's no playhouse in this town.
Orphan Ghosts. Let's get into that. You're going to hit another bong hit? I might as well hit another pen hit. On 18...
You're on mushrooms. I don't want to fucking hear it.
Bike row. Ghosts. I'm actually gonna, and now I have a Terrence McKenna book, but I think I'm gonna start listening to his talks also. I'm really wanting to learn a lot about fucking second.
Oh, you've never looked into McKenna?
I have his book, and I read it at the cottage last year. Parts of it, halfway through, I got.
You're just now getting into Terrence McKenna?
I was before. I've read his shit, but I've never read an entire book. I've read close. I read his. I have it somewhere, the archival fucking some bullshit. I have one of his books. I read it almost more than halfway through at the cottage last year, and then I pick up other books. I have OCD when it comes to books and research. I fucking read a book. I'm halfway through David Wilcock's thick ass fucking synchronicity key book, and I've read The Source Field. I did finish that one, but I get where I'm like, okay, I'm halfway through. I know what point I'm at. All right, let's read about the Night Stalker. And and then I finished that book, but now I'm halfway through. Just stupidly mentioned this, but because I want to get into it eventually, I am halfway through the Zodiac Killer book. But then I'm like, maybe I'll read it just before we get into him. So I'm like, I put it
You
on.
started reading that when you were at the cabin last year.
I did. I know. And I stopped reading because I was like, I want to finish it when I cover him.
Dude, I'm not judging. I do the same shit. I get like halfway into a book and I'm like, I can take a break, and then I just don't finish it half the time.
On 1886 or 1866, the children's orphanage opened in Gettysburg. While it was home to only 22 children to begin with, it was just 2 years before the number rose to around 60. Well, I'm assuming all their fathers and mothers are most likely dead or raped. So by the following year, overcrowding was a serious problem. Additions were built. By 1870, public awareness had moved somewhere else. And that saying, Paranormal Warehouse, is where Rosa J. Carmichael took a position there. So she was, to put it mildly, not a very nice person. Tales of abuse started to get out. And so she took over this orphanage and she started to abuse the children, much like nuns used to.
Yeah.
By 1876, and most times it's because they're religious and they believe that it was their godly right to do this, or that God saw these children as miscreants, or she was arrested for cruelty. But the good old days being what they were, she was found guilty, but only had to pay a fine.
Of course she did.
Which is fucking nuts. And and she was back at her post. Her abuse grew, and it grew worse, and children were subjected to beatings. They were locked in outhouses on freezing cold nights.
And she wasn't a nun?
It says.
Just a psycho.
Just a psycho. But the thing is, you don't have to be a nun. You could be a very religious person and this come out of you. I'm not saying all religious people are fucking bad. I'm saying back then, fucking my parents used to get beat on the hands for saying something wrong,
Yeah. No, that's true.
So, and then if you have your own fucking fucked up shit going on in your head, what do you do? If you're possessed by a bad entity, maybe
wasn't the commonplace thing like spare the rod, spoil the child back in the day?
Yeah.
Where I was like, if you didn't beat them, you were spoiling them. I was like, what?
Yes. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, they were shackled in the basement, and those chains and shackles are still there.
To this very day, the ghostly shackles of the children beatings. There's no way they're still there unless it's a fucking museum.
Does that sound familiar? It might have been somewhere the Ghost Adventures did cover. They've been to a lot of haunted locations. So this might be a possibility. I might have to watch that.
Civil War stuff is always like a go-to for ghost hunters and shit too, especially in America, because it's a stain on the country's history. It's a hot topic. People fucking talk about it a lot, and people are always like, I saw a ghost at Gettysburg when I went down there when I was 12.
And I would
smoked hash for the first time.
You motherfucker, man. You're like Billy. You lose your fucking sense of wonder.
No, I have to play the skeptic more often than not.
I already got that with Billy. He's the ultimate skeptic. And listening, I fucked with him on the reptilian episode. I've listened back to episodes, seeing like, should I keep this? Should I not? The fundamental episodes that structured Strange Brew on it's on very broken wood on a house. If you listen to the fucking Baba Yaga episode, it's like fucking chicken legs that are barely holding the house up. But and I joke with him. I was like, listening to older episodes, I realized how much he used to be more in the eyes of the wanderer. Like, just like, well, what could be possibly? It'd be anything. And I sent him I was looking at episodes I'm throwing up on Patreon for the Lost Tapes episodes, and I fucking recorded him. He's like, well, isn't that from that thing you talked about the aliens and how they like trade technology? Because he's like, we went from having no technology for all these years, something that I said, and he's rephrasing me and saying
something that you said that you read.
Yes, that I did read. Yeah,
and of course.
Now they gave us technology and Eisenhower and all that stuff, and he's like, yeah, it's possible. And I was like, how much he has changed. And once you get in that
that's what life does, baby boy. That's what life does.
disconnect. You gotta come more back to the spiritual. Do fucking mushrooms. Talk to a Ouija board.
I do need to do mushrooms again soon. I need
Yeah.
to go to the woods and trip
No
for sure.
microdosing. I get them for $50
Oh,
for a
fuck
half ounce.
microdosing, dude.
Yeah.
That's microdosing is against the point of mushrooms, in my opinion.
It-
Everybody wants to microdose because it's the
I feel
hip,
less
trendy thing to
depressed
do,
than
and I'm
I've
like, I
ever
just want
fucking
to,
been.
go eat fucking between 3 to 5 grams in the woods and just.
Well, when
have a
me and
good
you
time.
hang out after the second time I come down, we'll do mushrooms and then we'll film.
You just gotta go camping when you come down. Just take a
We'll
week
film
off
it.
and be like, we'll go camping, and
Then I'll cut it down to a ridiculous shit. All right,
we'll
so
go to Allegheny and just get just
go to
absolutely.
Gettysburg and then we'll fucking do it.
I'm not dropping acid at Gettysburg, bud.
Okay, but obviously she was a cruel bitch. This woman was a bitch, and it's no wonder then that the spirits of children are still there too. Visitors to the site now, the National Soldiers Orphanage Homestead, have reported seeing apparitions of dirty, disheveled children, hearing sounds of cries of children, and then giggling when there was no one there. And there is a fucking I don't know if there's a movie or I'm thinking Ghost Adventures, but there's someone that went down and they found shackles. It must have been fucking Ghost Adventures. And it was still shackles that supposedly they just left there and was like, fuck it.
If it's Ghost Adventures, it's mad sus. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because
Zach
as I've
Baggins
read,
makes shit up fucking constantly.
me and Chelsea constantly make fun of. He's like, oh, I feel angry. The one thing he said, he's like, I feel aggressive at you. And it's just like, and then we're like laughing at aggressive at you. Again, he's like, I can't shake off this aggression.
I feel aggression towards you, you illiterate cunt.
He's so weird. He's a strange fella, but he's super famous now, and they do really well. No wonder why they could sprinkle in some things. Yeah, they say visitors obviously see apparitions and weird children giggling. Others describe feeling an extreme sadness and weight upon the shoulders when they enter the basement. And this is where I remember is the shackles in the basement. Unless I'm seeing it on my own dreams, but I swear this is from something. Do you want to talk about fucking goddamn Bloody Lane?
Do it up.
Bloody. So it's so bloody, so fucking bloody. It's so bloody. So prior to September 17th, 1862, the little dirt farm lane in Maryland was known simply as Sunken Road. That was before the Confederate troops lined up the roads embankments with fence rails and troops and unloaded on passing Union soldiers at, simply established as a point blank kind of range. By the time the fighting was done, just 3.5 hours later, 5,500 men were dead or wounded. And according to National Park Service, there was really no point into the war at this point, and neither the Confederate Army nor the Union gained any kind of military or territorial advantage whatsoever. It's like, and now the route is known as Bloody Lane. According to the U.S. Department of Transportation, the lane was absolutely haunted. And you've, of course, heard about this, right?
Yeah, I mean, the story just goes with any Civil War battlefield, really, where there's mass casualty. It's always some sort of like, there's always some ghost hunting episode that has like, oh, today on Civil War ghosts.
Whiskey is finished. No matter how many people are given at any time and remains unnaturally quiet. Visitors report they can still hear gunfire and distinctive smells of gunpowder still washing over those who walk the lanes.
I think that would fuck with me more than anything, or phantom smells. I mean, you can kind of dismiss them, but like, yeah, if you're just walking and you're like, dude, there's like a very strong.
The whole thing of like somebody smelling their grandpa's cigar, which Chelsea, I would love to have her on this podcast one day for a Patreon episode because maybe people pay for it. But she's had her own weird experiences. She played the Ouija board a lot when she was younger. She had this spirit that supposedly existed kind of just down the road. She was a woman who would knock off a teddy bear. And no wonder why we're connected, why we are so interested both in spirituality. And the teddy bear would always fall off, even in times when she didn't want it to. Like they asked her to knock down the teddy bear whenever she was around, and it would happen way years after. It's fucking weird. And she, I think it was her talking about that she could smell some cigar scent, or maybe that's from something else. But it's just she's had her own weird experiences. It's a lot of weird shit. I love ghosty shit, man. As I said, some have us seeing soldiers in Confederate uniforms so realistic that they thought they were reenactors. And that's what I was gonna say when my mom's ghostly haunting house. She saw Terry. Is that when she saw him, she was always worried. She was worried about him. He committed suicide. Turn off the light, and she said that he stood there like as real as I am, like like a physical person until they disappear.
Not outside the realm of possibility.
Oh, here's where it gets creepier. And he told her, like, hey, like, it's okay. And he talked to her. So I think he was coming from a different plane saying, hey, it's okay. I'm fine where I am. My parents aren't assholes anymore. The shot glass when they played the Ouija board flew across the room and smashed into the wall when they mentioned his parents. So
you watched that story before, right?
Yeah, I have. According to one story, a group of school children from Baltimore were visiting the site. They heard distant chanting so clear it almost sounded like it was being sung by ghosts of the dead soldiers. But it wasn't a Christmas song they thought it was. It was a Gaelic battle cry shouted by Union soldiers of the Irish Brigade as they were charged. And like, I want to mention this too, because even the stuff I was listening to, they would just give people guns as soon as they like fucking came up. They're like, you're an immigrant from whatever country coming to the States for a better life. And they would just hand you a gun and say, go fight.
They didn't hand you a gun. That's a different thing altogether. But they depict that in Gangs of New York while there are army recruiters going on during the Civil War, standing at the boat docks being like, here's some soup, here's some bread. You've had a long boat. If you follow us, you can sign up for the army right over here.
Yeah. And to mention Gangs of New York is one of my favorite films. One of my favorite. I love it. I love that movie. And it probably will eventually come for an Unreal review on the Patreon. Wars always come with collateral damage. So let's strictly talk about Gettysburg. And Opsy deaths, famously. There was one civil casualty killed during the fighting at Gettysburg, Jeannie Wade. So obviously, yeah, with war comes collateral damage, comes casualties, especially in World War II. It's like, how many bombs can we drop? Or even fucking, you think about nowadays in the war fought by drones, blowing up hospitals and churches.
Drone warfare is a whole different special kind of evil. It's fucking ridiculous.
The house, you're disassociated. You're not attached to the action.
It's video game where people actually die.
Yeah,
is really what it comes down to. It's some kid sitting at a fucking computer, sending a remote controlled plane to go blow up a house where actual people are living.
I'm sorry, I just laughed because it makes me think of Arrested Development when they put Buster on the fucking.
Oh my god.
It's so funny. He thinks he's playing a video game.
If you've never off topic though, let's.
If you've never seen that fucking show, please watch Arrested Development. There's a very funny scene.
There's many very funny scenes. Arrested Development is fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough.
So fucking funny.
Back to the Civil War, Thomas.
The house where she was killed still stands, according to Civil War ghosts. She's still there. During the battle, Jeannie, her mother, and her sister helped care for Union soldiers, taking them food and water throughout the battle. She was baking bread when a bullet. Just one around 150 that hit the house. 150 bullets that they could count at least hit the house. Passed through 2 doors, hit her in the back. She was killed instantly.
So like a heart shot, then basically.
And these are one of the because a lot of the bullets, were like lead. They weren't fucking that.
They were lead. No, most bullets are still lead. But the problem is that they were. Well, everything's soft lead-ish. Lead is a soft metal. But
true.
It was generally, you're talking more like the the flintlock pistol type things where it would get stuck in your skin and then you would get infected and it would
like Pirates, which I love Pirates too. Yeah. The pirate episode almost killed me, which is now going to be fucking we will dive back into Pirates, but that is now officially on a Lost Tapes episode. And it was the night that I almost died. And so the crazy thing is, right, when you're instantly killed, when it's instant car crash, stuff like that, you're said to, like, someone who hits something with a car, you instantly die. You don't know that you're dead, so you wander this astral world confused. I believe that is a fucking possibility.
Oh, absolutely. Possibility, yeah. I'll never say it's impossible, no.
It's there are more to the sad. There's more of the sad story. Jeannie's fiance Jack was critically injured 2 weeks before he was shot. Ultimately, died a few days after she did. Neither ever knew what happened to the other. So obviously you're in this ghostly plane searching for each other. That's what I would picture, is they're both searching for each other in the ghostly realms in the astral world. The visitors to Jeannie Wade, which is now a museum, reports that she is still there. She's occasionally been seen walking in the house. Sometimes she has been a glimpse walking in the nearby countryside, perhaps lemonading. That's the word.
Like the Beyonce thing.
Yeah, that's stupid. She's like thinking about her blissful life and the old age that both her and her, beloved were denied. Because, and I'm sure, like, I wonder if they met in the afterlife. I'm sure once they realized they were both dead, which might take some time in that astral world, you might have to realize and
Realize and then accept, which would
accept that you're dead. Because acceptance is the big thing. Because as I've said, Chelsea's mom was a spiritual, like, she's super spiritual, and she's been to a psychic that said that one of her husbands that was a dog in a past life, or that he wasn't dead and he didn't realize he was dead. It's fucking weird. And he wandered around not knowing he was dead.
Huh.
Today it is known as the Farnsworth House Inn, but during Battlefield of Gettysburg, it was occupied by first by the Confederate forces and used as a hospital and a headquarters for them to plan what they were doing next. All right, lots of whiskey. All right.
Whiskey here. I'll take a sip, sir.
A lot of whiskey, and let me smoke a cigarette.
I'm out of whiskey now.
And we say that we stab, stab, shoot, stab, stab, shoot.
No, I thought it was a stab, shoot, stab, shoot, stab, shoot, stab, shoot, yeah. Reload, stab.
Okay, and who do we send in first? Right, we said in the darkies first, right? Is that the plan?
I don't like your tone, sir. We send the poor in first. Send the poor in first. Well, get your ass on in there, son, because I'm not.
Damn it! Let me have a shot of this whiskey.
No, you know, no whiskey. Hey, that was the last of our whiskey. I'm gonna shoot you for treason now, son. I'm your colonel. You get in there.
And Thomas Cornhole died shortly after of a gunshot wound to the face.
No, I shot you in the arm. I wasn't gonna kill you. You drank my whiskey. It's not like you fucked my system.
Fucking throwback. That's where my infection comes from. I never knew I got shot because you used a pellet gun. That was fucking laced with AIDS.
I had a blowgun that I invented AIDS back in the day.
Yeah, just joking. So obviously, it was still riddled with bullets, and eventually, he's smoking up again. Fell to the Union forces, who stormed the building and killed the Confederate snipers who had been stationed there. So snipers, you weren't always at an advantage, I could say.
So I feel like snipers are one of those positions where you're either in the best possible place where you're like, no one's going to find me, or you are the target now.
Yeah. You think about it.
You said you've seen Saving Private Ryan a million times. That
tower we get shot through the fucking eye hole. It's fucking sick.
It's a sweet scene, yeah.
Some of those soldiers are still there, and according to the Schultz family, who bought the property in 1972, some of them have been caught in something of an infantry, an internal loop, an infinite, not infantry, an infinite, like Eminem's first album.
Cringy ass bitch. Who said that?
You're such a hosehead. Yeah, well, take off.
But obviously it's an eternal loop, which I had this book all about ghosts, and me and Justin did use it way back. I don't know if I kept it for the ghost episode, which I did think I kept because it was a good episode. But we talked about, I read this whole book about it, and it talked about these loops that people would get in, that you would walk into a building and you'd be trapped in that timeline.
So kind of like Blair Witch.
Yeah, it's weird. And there was a whole fucking chapter about it, which I'd like to get into. These women go to this bar in Britain they think is closed. And all these people are there and they try to get a drink, but everyone's in old timey outfits and they're not really talking.
Oh, you're talking about just walking into a full on
weird
residual haunting that like you step inside of the haunting
timeline, and it's fucking strange. And then to mention this, because I eventually want to get into this, and I remember this story from reading this book, is they go in and they go to this bar. It's 2 a.m. They're like, wow, this bar is open. It looks lively on the inside. They go in, people are sitting there, they're drinking, but they they don't notice them really. And then they're like, this is weird. And they ask for a drink. And I think they end up getting a drink and leaving. And then they realize the next day they go back and like, oh, you guys were open pretty late, pretty weird. It's kind of cool how you guys had everything set up. And like, we closed at 1. And then she noticed a picture on the wall of the bar back in the day. And it was the same looking. It's fucking so strange, man. There's some.
Isn't that the plot to The Shining?
Oh, kind of like that. It was close, but I would. It's so weird. So they got caught in this house where they would when the Confederates took over, and it became this internal loop, still patrolling the same routes that they did when they were alive, or routes.
Roots, tomato.
They would walk around and they were just imprinted there, as told by Civil War ghosts. One thought to be a sharpshooter stationed in the attic window can be heard playing the mouth harp.
So the harmonica?
Night. I guess.
Is it a mouth harp? Is it a jaw harp?
It says mouth harp, which I think is just an old-timey way of saying a fucking harmonica.
I'm looking it up right now. No, it's a jaw harp. It's a wow, 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 wow.
He was really bored up there. That's weird. Just waiting to kill some fucking people so I can keep my slaves.
My a good friend of mine, Nick, is a fucking boss at the jaw harp.
What? Really?
Yeah, shout out to my buddy Nick. He plays a mean jaw harp.
So don't worry, because we only have dos more.
We've played Grand Theft Auto with him before. My buddy Nick that we've played Grand Theft Auto with.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. I want to hear that shit. Can you play some old timey fucking Civil War music for me?
He can play whatever. He does a whole bunch of cool shit, but that's an off-air conversation. Love you, Nick.
He plays the fucking mouth harp. It's so strange. I want one now. Anton plays the mouth harp every weekend at the bar.
Dude, jaw harp, like $15 on Amazon. Get you a good one.
I need to get that. I've always thought about either getting the boom boom as a sound effect, or like the boom boom, but like after a joke.
You're talking the ever classic.
Yeah. I think it's appropriate. Footsteps are common, along with sounds of heavy breathing and cigar smoke. A few women remain there too, including one who tucks in the guests in their bed at night, thought to be a midwife. Yo, fuck that. Fuck that. I don't want some ghost tucking me in. Like you're like, I got my, I'm hot. It's a hot summer night, which obviously when they're fighting this, winter would be horrible and summer would also be equally as horrible. But I feel like winter a little more because they don't know how to keep themselves warm at this time. A spirit just tucks you in. Not my thing. No, I don't.
Yeah, if the spirit stopped being weird, I'd take it.
Chelsea's sister saw her grandfather peeking over the side of the bed.
That would be fucking horrifying.
No. It's like, no, thank you. A cook who reportedly is such a solid figure that he's mistaken as staff. What would Arkansas's fucking go-to food be?
I don't know. We've already pissed them off once. Let's not do it again.
It's gone now. How about Tennessee? What do you think? I like my cooked rat over a nice warm barbecue. Okay, I'm Canadian.
That's your Tennessee?
I've never been to Tennessee, so
that's your Tennessee.
My mom does have a friend, and I've said her name before. Taffy. I said that's her name, and she is from Tennessee, or what's the place famous for country? They love country music there.
Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah, Grand Ole Opry.
And she has a super thick accent.
So Bartek, what is it? What is it? Tennessee
does not agree with me on my conspiracies. Let's just say that.
And she's from Tennessee.
Yeah, I've had arguments with her.
Wow.
So who they say are occasionally supposedly shoved and pushed out of the way. There's people that say they're pushed out of the way by a malevolent entity. So strange at
evil.
This now it's an inn, and you know what? If as weird as our world is, we should be able to travel freely. It should be cheap and easy and fun for people to live in a utopia, which we might never get to. But I don't know if we will travel around. If I could, if I had the money, if it was cheap, if it was something that was given to the people as a freedom, like I would love to just go every haunted place that I could, like Zach Bagans, and probably film it, but be a way better host. But it's just my opinion.
Dude, I would love to just go ghost hunting together. That would be
We're
amazing.
going to do that. I was literally, after me and Chelsea were
No,
talking.
what I mean, like professionally, like if we ever
Well, we
yeah.
can start a YouTube channel and become famous. But the thing is too, I want to do that. I was just literally talking about Chelsea, but doing that with you is trying to like going to Niagara, because I know they have the ghost walk, but also I have the spirit box. I was debating on using it on Halloween, maybe.
That'd be sweet. There's a fuck ton of haunted places out here too.
So there's Boston would be a good one. I mean Buffalo, not Boston. Why fucking BB?
You were doing so good for like months now.
I know. Boston.
Why fucking sound like I'm from fucking Boston to you?
I don't know why.
What is your fucking problem, bud? Huh?
But Buffalo, obviously, would have a lot of hauntings too, and we could probably ask to be like, "I'll pay you $50 if you just let's do this."
You don't even have to. More often than not, just be like, "Yeah, I'm a fucking paranormal investigator. Can I check this out?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, it's this much money, and here's your scheduled time." It's like,
That's
okay.
True. Where's my arm? I wonder, because you sawed it off, or as my leg.
I shot off both your legs and your arm. I'm sorry. I see that fire that's been burning for a little bit.
That's your arm.
That's all three of them, bud.
Medicine, and particularly surgeons during Civil War era, were that of stuff of nightmares. So it's no wonder the trauma of having
Just because I'm a 16-year-old drunk surgeon doesn't mean I'm a goddamn nightmare. Well, nightmare. Oh God. No.
So it's no wonder the trauma of having a limb or two amputated would be enough to tie a person's soul to a place. In this case, the place we're talking about is the Marshall House Hotel in Savannah, Georgia. We're going to Georgia.
Going down to Georgia, gonna have myself a town. Oh wait, that's South Park.
What's that Georgia song? Georgia. Lil Wayne redoes it.
I don't fucking know.
During the wartime, the house served as a Union hospital, and according to Savannah.com, at least one patient remains. He's a Union soldier with one arm who wanders the hallways of the hotel, and he's been heard to ask, "Has anyone seen my arm? I can't find it."
Has anyone seen my arm? Oh, there it is.
There we go. There's my. Wow, I can say that now. Get me back into the fucking down south accent. As if it's not strange enough, workers renovating the hotel in the 1990s did in fact find what might have been an arm. It's fucking weird, man.
What is might have been an arm?
Just like maybe it's an arm. They were placing floorboards where they found what they thought was to be maybe a recent of human remains. It looked like it, which they eventually identified as an amputated limb of a Civil War soldier who was treated there.
That's where I left my fucking arm.
And we were talking about how crazy and the chaotic battlefields, how many people died during this time, and how they did a lot of times they took out some of the bodies. They did do it. Anton said another fucking. We're almost at the end.
That was for all of our YouTube listeners. I just wanted to slowly be like,
there is we are the last story and mystery is the greatest of all. I like it, but it is so strange that I forgot what I was talking about.
the last story and mystery is the greatest mystery of them all. I'll get into it.
I was fucking talking about before I mentioned that, before you hit the bong. Oh, like that they found the remains, and it was an unidentified fucking. It was a limb.
It was an arm. They found an arm. Ooh.
And according to Ghost City Tours, there is more otherworldly inhabitants there too, including a score of children who have been supposedly infamous for biting people for some reason. A kitty cat. It's that goddamn cat again. And perhaps the spirit.
It's so much better coming straight from the cow's tit versus a soundbite.
I know. The spirit of Uncle Ramus, author Joel Chandler Harris, who can sometimes be heard typing away at his typewriter. There's a lot of weird spirits. And some of these, like if we really wanted to, even for a Patreon episode for one of our mini-sodes, we could probably talk about some of the more details of some of these ghost stories.
We should just do another just full-on ghost episode.
Somebody's dying.
You can hear Justin in the background. Oh my god. I don't know how you can hear that. I have the microphone set up appropriately, so yeah.
You think Bigfoot was in the Civil War?
I think Bigfoot fought on the side of the Confederacy, so cancel Bigfoot.
This is fucking crazy. In the book I was listening to, The Law of One, which I really suggest a lot of people do listen to. It is, if it's fucking fake, whatever, but the information, it lays out like our spiritual purpose, why we live in these dualities and these realities. It was a woman that's supposed to be channeled, the entity Ra, which is from Egyptian times. I'll get fucking off, Anton. I'll get back into it on another episode or a rant episode on the Patreon. But
this is the only book of spirituality anyone ever needs.
Yeah, I get it. But the Law of One is great, and it's really impressive information on what I've researched. David Wilcock, who I've read his books, as I mentioned earlier, references this book all the time, and they say Bigfoot is an entity. And this is in the 80s of a woman who's channeling Ra, which is all very spiritual context. And the guy asks him because he's asking, it's a question, and it's like, and then Ra talks, and they is this instrument comfortable? And they're talking about the woman being, is she comfortable while she's channeling this entity? It's interesting. It is fucking weird, okay? And it's all just transcribed from their conversations. And he asks, is Bigfoot one of these entities, these nature entities? And they go in this whole thing about it. I'm like, man, they talk about Bigfoot and how he's like this spiritual being that kind of goes in and out of they're a race of people that have existed long before us, supposedly, or a creature.
Okay.
Fucking weird. Either way.
Wise old man of the woods.
Yes. And, you got indigenous cultures that talk about it. So while the Civil War was raging in the U.S., there are multiple stories of encounters with a Bigfoot, the country's most popular cryptid. One of the stories came from the battlefield of Chickamauga that haunted the grounds of Old Green Eyes.
Just like that word haunted Tom this whole episode.
Haunted. I should play my song The Haunting after this, probably appropriate. The Reptilian on YouTube.
Shameless plug. Shameless.
But yeah, so supposed to be Green Eyes was a cryptid, and Bigfoot's also hanging out with Old Green Eyes.
Old Green Eyes gonna miss you.
Before the battle, Private Otto Morton and Billy Chandler were sitting in a line, soldier's line, a sentry line, when they heard terrible shrieks from the woods. And as we've heard in our past episodes, Bigfoot makes a weeping like. He makes a weeping. And they also knocks on fucking which Jason Mewes.
Oh my god.
This pulls all this shit back because we just talked about Jason Mewes and Jack Osborne fucking fucking
hunting for Sasquatch.
Yeah, so funny. And they went to and as you said, Jason Mewes is exactly how you would think Jason Mewes.
Jason Mewes is the person you want Jason Mewes to be. So it's like, okay, I love you still.
He goes
also totally unrelated, but the trailer for Clerks 3 looks pretty good. So,
as you were hating on Kevin Smith so much,
I stand by it. It could be dog shit. The man cries on YouTube for Marvel money, so I don't.
I have to watch that tonight. Then I got to watch the trailer. So they went to investigate and ran into a monster that was 10 feet tall and smelled like rotting meat. After running from the woods, and this was at the Battle of Chickamauga, they were screaming. They saw a creature. The two privates told their commanding officer about the experience. He went to investigate the area, and to his surprise, there were footprints in the dirt that were 22 inches wide.
And that, when there was only one set of tracks in the dirt, that's when Bigfoot carried you.
I was thinking about.
You guys had that fucking Jesus footprints poem in Canada too, right? Or is that just American bullshit?
What? Jesus.
The footprints, when there was only one set of footprints in the sand, that's when I carried you. It's like just a weird Christian poem. You've heard that one? Yeah. So when there was only one set of tracks in the dirt, that's when Bigfoot carried you.
Billy's like, you are Christian, you were raised it. I was like, I ain't Christian. I was like, just because I was fucking 8 years old and I stopped going to church doesn't mean I'm fucking religious. My mom
I don't know. A lot of your moral bullshit is Christian, so boo on you.
Yeah, I'm not fucking. My mom went back to church because her fucking husband does, and I was like, good for you, you know, find your old roots, whatever. She's the reason why I wasn't religious growing up.
Is your mom like cruising for tail in the church?
No,
I feel like that's what most people do when they get, especially when they're widowed or divorced, they go back to church because they're like, I'm gonna go find somebody that's not a hoe.
remember I told you, right? My mom left the church when I was 6 years old.
I do remember that story, yeah. But when I'm saying when she went back, I'm like, was she cruising for tail at the church?
I hope not. Well, my dad and mom weren't divorced yet, but they're definitely having problems.
Would you rather your mom go looking for dick at the church or looking for dick at the bar?
Church, but that guy could beat me, but so could the guy that's drunk. So it's I don't know.
No, I mean you're an adult now. You don't live with your mom. I'm talking now.
I
Is
wanna
your mom gonna be happier with somebody that's getting drunk with her every weekend, or
My
with
mom doesn't
somebody
drink
who's
often, so a religious person.
okay?
Okay, her new
Your
husband.
mom's willing to give up her Sundays.
She does right now. She went back to it. So, and her husband smokes weed and he's chill. You know, he's a
That's
good
cool.
guy.
Oh, all right.
But I was gonna say I want to do a Patreon episode. I was thinking about. I was like, you know, it'd be a funny Patreon episode. Everyone just gets hammered, and we talk about which cryptid would you fuck, and just like we'll go through the list and describe them. And it's just, I'm stating this right now before anyone steals my idea, but that's gonna be a Patreon episode.
No, we definitely need to just have like a bunch of just get absolutely ripped up and just talk random shit Patreon episodes for sure.
That's for the stranger danger, but there will be one about fucking cryptids. Bigfoot also appeared in Virginia while guarding Harper's Ferry one night. Private Moore heard shouting coming from the barracks. The soldiers were yelling about a man beast roaming around and were getting guns so they could kill it. Some sort of man beast coming out of the woods. Out of here, man.
Beast!
Leave, beast. As Moore listened, he could hear gunfire coming from across the river. The next morning, his commander said that he had seen another hairy monster, again 10 feet tall. The previous night, a Bigfoot sighting came from Virginia. A young soldier was sick and returned home from the front. Knowing that he would die soon, the soldier requested his family to bury him in the mountains near his home, where he and Bigfoot had a very sensuous relationship.
They had a sweet little love nest where they had a wonderful interior decorator set the whole place up.
This is like
Fully stocked bar, all the hors d'oeuvres anyone could want.
Bigfoot has got like one of those fucking aprons on from the 1950s housewives. It's like, oh, come get your hotcakes. It's like, oh man. But Bigfoot's a girl.
French toast.
Or is he? He could be a more feminine man. And you know,
I would assume if it's a separate species, there are both males and females, unless it is an asexual reproduction type situation.
It's true. And in this book, I thought you'd enjoy, it talks about entities that bisexually procreate with man and women. And it does talk about when in past lives can come into this life.
That's a party I can get behind.
There's some good things, and there's one line I thought was kind of homophobic. Like it says about that, because if you say you've had 6 lives as a female and 2 lives as a male, you might come back to this life fused and you become in between because you don't know what side you want to go towards. It's fucking interesting.
I could dig that.
And it's 80s.
It's not casting a moral judgment, so I could definitely dig that, where it's like, oh, maybe that's the lives that are remembered, you know. We've talked about stuff. I'm not talking about that on air, but we've talked about
but you should check it out. It is really interesting. And I'm suggesting the book of the Law of One to everybody, but it's good. And it in the fact that they were saying stuff that was more or less progressive at the time because it was the 80s, and the way they phrase certain sentences. It's just like, it's kind of like, oh, is it homophobic? But it's not really. Is it? Because it's the time they're trying to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you'll go back to and you'll see now, and you'll look at it with a modern eye and be like,
yeah,
they're attempting to be progressive, and for the time it was. Yeah. It's not as though like I
spending the night with a man every night.
What?
He shared a bed with a man. Lincoln did.
Yes.
Yes. The next morning, yeah, his commander also said to see a 10-foot tall creature. And young soldier.
10-foot tall dick.
So they're going to bury this kid. He was dying, which it's a young soldier. So I'm guessing like 16, and he's dying, probably from gangrene or some sort of infection. So they went to the mountains to bury him.
You're talking about that boy on the bed over there, Sir Thomas? Yes. No, he is definitely dying. I I administered some bad blood earlier. That's on me. I've been putting them leeches on him, but yeah, he's not going to make it.
He said that he only had a bullet shot in one leg, but I see he only has one arm left. What the fuck happened? These mountains have been locations of supposedly many Bigfoot sightings when the soldier died, and probably to this day, they've been cited to see Bigfoot. But his family buried him buried him there, of course, upon his request, because he liked the mountains, I guess. Because I said him and Bigfoot had a nice relationship. A few days after the burial, the soldier's father went to visit the grave and found that it had been dug up, and his son's body lay nearby, torn apart, stripped to the bone. The father suspected that Bigfoot was the culprit, not wolves. But,
Bigfoot was like, "Man, I can't be separated from you. You have to be inside me."
Yeah, he tries to eat the kid. Or it's like, okay, I believe it was most likely wolves. Okay. But if you bury your son's corpse in the mountains when he's like 16, he died fighting in this ridiculous war that should have needed to happen. But at the same time, why would we own people in the first place? Be better humans, as you
Yeah, be better.
But the thing is, it is fucking like the fact that you go back and it's like, but it was dug up. So they made 6 feet. So, back then, it's really hard for animals don't dig that deep unless they really,
unless they're really hungry.
Yeah. Which Bigfoot could have been really hungry. He's like, we were once lovers and now I need to consume you.
I think Bigfoot enlisted the help of a bear and 2 other wolves and then just started digging.
I don't know. Maybe, maybe he's just like, you're right. Maybe he's like the Jeffrey Dahmer, like, I want you to be part of me. Yes, that is the closing. Bigfoot was the fucking ending of it.
Bigfoot is the Jeffrey Dahmer of cryptids. Yes, that's the closing statement.
Okay, so
good night, everybody.
All right, so I really enjoyed this. I was really looking forward to this episode, like a lot. I've been wanting to do this for probably over a couple months to a year since I wrote it. I was like, definitely have to do this. I look like I'm a fat Tommy Shelby with a beard right now. Like, I'm all dressed up. I feel like I'm part of the Civil War, and I don't know what to say anymore. Fucking, I want to go watch a Civil War documentary and cry. Also, I want to watch a Civil War documentary while playing the Ouija board while taking a shot of fucking holy water.
Good God!
But holy water is vodka in Russian. All right. I just don't know what I'm talking about anymore. You know where to find us. www.strangebrewpodcast.com. Obviously, follow the Instagrams. Strange Brew Podcast. We post a lot of fun stuff on there. I've been posting more videos and more things to relate to episodes we're talking about. And everybody fucking fuck everybody.
Reverend Kaiju's House of Trash, Invader Daggett _TTV. All the links are in the description, people. Go do the thing.
Make sure you fucking go check out House of Trash. Because it's funny because I did we'll end this on this, but I did a fuck New World Order, the New World Order 2 designs, where instead of in the word fuck, much like my Trudeau sign, it's not a maple leaf, it's like a burning Illuminati symbol. And it says, fuck the New World Order. There's one design where it's like a straight across white where you can have it on black. And then I made one that's like a t-shirt length style. I ordered a sweater and a shirt and 2 stickers, and one's going on the back of my car. But they took it down off Teespring, so I had to throw it back on TeePublic. But they tried to also deny Anton's design. They denied my 2 fuck the New World Order's designs.
Yeah, it was weird.
And then they tried to deny Anton's, like, we looked back on your thing. And I was like, I made that logo from scratch. Okay. And I want it on a shirt and a mug. This motherfucker. And they're like, I couldn't believe they took it down. I was like, what is fucking offensive about this one? You know what's weird? One last thing on that. My fuck Trudeau design is still up there. So that fuck the World Order, that's too far.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah, if you can buy merch on the fucking site, as I'd said. Teespring is the cheapest and best quality for bang for your buck with shipping and stuff like that. So that's why we're choosing them, even though they're kind of censorshipy. But I have been looking at some other options. So everyone, that's how you best support us is Patreon, because there's a lot of stuff coming for that, and for merch. Honestly, I would love if people, there's a bunch of people that have already bought merch, but it's pretty dope to see people wearing the shirt, wearing a sweater. There you can. I saw that we can put shorts, and I was like, I'm just gonna wear a whole podcast uniform. All right, we love you guys.
Everybody love everybody.
Love everybody! Come on!
Keep watching the skies.
Watching skies, I'm super high.
Me too.